I was sitting at my desk reviewing the details for our Bali honeymoon when my phone buzzed with a text from Jessica. Opening it, I felt my world tilt on its axis. The message read, "I cannot go through with the wedding. I am not in love with you anymore. Actually, I never really was. You are just safe and boring. 2 years together, 3 weeks until our wedding, and this is how it ended." Strangely, I felt an unexpected calm wash over me. Before I tell you what happened next, let me know where you are watching from in the comments, and hit that like and subscribe button if you want more stories about standing up for yourself. I met Jessica at a charity fundraiser in downtown Seattle 2 years ago. At 32, I had settled into my career as a software developer and was focused on building my future. She was 28, a vibrant marketing executive with an infectious laugh that caught my attention from across the room. When our eyes met over the silent auction table, something clicked. We spent the entire evening talking about our shared love for hiking and travel, discovering we had both dreamed of visiting the same obscure towns in Italy. Our first date was a hike up Mount Rainier. As we reached the summit and watched the sunset paint the sky in brilliant oranges and pinks, Jessica turned to me with flushed cheeks and sparkling eyes. "I have never met anyone who matches my pace so perfectly," she said. That moment, watching her silhouetted against the setting sun, I felt the first stirrings of something real. Jessica was different from anyone I had dated before. Where others had been content with Netflix marathons, she challenged me to try rock climbing, kayaking, and even skydiving. Her spontaneity balanced my methodical nature. When I hesitated to book a last-minute trip to Vancouver, she grabbed my credit card with a laugh. "Life is too short for spreadsheets, Dwayne," she teased, though she later admitted she appreciated my stability. 10 months into dating, we decided to move in together. We found a spacious apartment in Capitol Hill with a view of the Seattle skyline. Jessica squealed with delight when we got the keys, dancing through the empty rooms and planning where each piece of furniture would go. "This is our blank canvas," she declared, pulling me into a kiss. A month later, we adopted Apollo, a golden retriever puppy with boundless energy who completed our little family. We quickly established routines that became the foundation of our shared life. Sunday mornings meant coffee walks with Apollo through Volunteer Park, while Thursday evenings were reserved for movies. Jessica introduced me to foreign films, and I showed her classic sci-fi she had somehow missed. We supported each other through career milestones, her landing a major account that doubled her client roster, my promotion to senior developer that allowed us to start saving for our future. After 18 months together, we purchased our first home near Lake Washington. The 1,940 bungalow needed work, but we spent weekends painting walls, refinishing hardwood floors, and creating a home that reflected both our personalities. Jessica installed an elaborate backyard fire pit where we hosted friends for summer gatherings, while I built a reading nook by the bay window where she loved to curl up with Apollo on rainy days. With our house taking shape and our relationship stronger than ever, I decided it was time. For 6 months, I set aside a portion of each paycheck to save for the perfect ring, a 2-carat emerald-cut diamond, set in platinum, just like she had casually pointed out during a window shopping excursion. I planned an elaborate proposal at the same Mount Rainier summit where we had our first date. After a challenging hike that left Jessica questioning my sanity, we reached the peak, just as the clouds parted to reveal a spectacular sunset. "Why did you bring the fancy camera?" she asked, noticing the expensive equipment I rarely used. "I want to capture this view," I answered, setting up the tripod and secretly starting a video. As she gazed out at the landscape, I knelt behind her. When she turned around, her hands flew to her mouth. Tears spilled down her cheeks as she nodded before I even finished asking. "Yes, yes, of course, yes," she repeated. As I slipped the ring onto her finger, our families were thrilled. Her parents hosted an engagement dinner where her father toasted us with crystal flutes of champagne. "To the perfect match," he said, raising his glass. My mother wept happy tears as she embraced Jessica, whispering, "I have always wanted a daughter." We set the date for June 15th, allowing a full year to plan our dream wedding. Jessica threw herself into wedding preparations, creating elaborate Pinterest boards and scheduling vendor meetings during her lunch breaks. She chose a rustic vineyard venue 2 hours outside Seattle, insisting on string lights and wildflower centerpieces that would match the natural setting. Everything seemed perfect. 6 months before the wedding, I began noticing subtle changes. Jessica's enthusiasm for wedding planning waned. Venue meetings she had eagerly anticipated were rescheduled, then forgotten entirely. Instead of flipping through bridal magazines in bed, she was constantly texting someone named Alex, a new colleague who had joined her marketing team. "Alex had the funniest presentation today," she would say, laughing at inside jokes I was not privy to. "Alex thinks we should push the campaign in a different direction. Alex this, Alex that." Meanwhile, wedding details fell to me. The florist called asking about arrangements. Jessica had promised to finalize the caterer needed menu selections she had forgotten to make. Jessica began staying late at the office for critical projects that somehow always required her presence, until well past 8 or 9 o'clock. When she finally came home, her phone stayed face down or on silent mode. If it rang while she was in the shower, she would emerge with dripping hair to snatch it before I could see who was calling. Our physical intimacy dwindled. Gentle advances were met with excuses about stress or fatigue. "The wedding planning is just so overwhelming," she would say, turning away from me in bed. I believed her. Planning a wedding while maintaining a demanding career would exhaust anyone. Hoping to recapture our connection, I planned a surprise weekend getaway to Woodinville wine country. When I presented the reservation details over dinner expecting excitement, Jessica frowned. "This weekend I cannot. The Henderson pitch is Monday, and I need to prepare." When I pointed out that she had previously mentioned the pitch was in good shape, she grew defensive. "You do not understand the pressure I am under." On our 2-year anniversary, I made reservations at the upscale restaurant where we had celebrated her promotion. I left work early to pick up her favorite lilies and a delicate silver bracelet engraved with the coordinates of where we met. Jessica arrived 40 minutes late, offering a hasty kiss and a weak excuse about a meeting running long. Throughout dinner, she checked her phone repeatedly, her thoughts clearly elsewhere. When I reminded her it was our anniversary, genuine surprise flashed across her face before she recovered. "Of course I knew. I have just been swamped." 4 months before the wedding, the distance between us widened into a chasm. Jessica began skipping venue tastings at the last minute, leaving me to select meal options and cake flavors alone. "I trust your judgment," she would say dismissively, though she had once been particular about every detail. Her appearance changed subtly. New designer clothes replaced her casual wardrobe. Her hair, previously worn in natural waves, was now meticulously straightened each morning. Expensive perfume I had never gifted her lingered in the bathroom. When I complimented the changes, she smiled tightly. "I need to present a certain image for my clients." Girls' nights out became a weekly occurrence, sometimes twice weekly. Curious about her new friends, I suggested hosting a dinner to meet them. Jessica quickly shot down the idea. "They are work friends. You would be bored with all our shop talk." I later discovered through social media that these girls' nights often included a tall, dark-haired man who appeared in the background of photos. Alex the First presumed. One evening, while searching for our wedding insurance policy on her laptop, I discovered dozens of unread emails from vendors awaiting responses. Some had warning notes about payment deadlines we were about to miss. When I brought this up, Jessica became uncharacteristically angry. "I cannot do everything. If it matters so much to you, handle it yourself." Increasingly concerned, I attempted to have a heart-to-heart talk about our relationship. Jessica deflected every question with practiced ease. "You are overthinking things," she insisted. "Everything is fine." But when she complained about our predictable life and boring weekends, I recognized the disconnect between her words and the reality of our previously adventurous relationship. Arguments about wedding costs became frequent, despite the budget we had agreed upon months earlier. "Do we really need an open bar?" she asked, though she had once declared it non-negotiable. $8,000 for photography seems excessive. Everything she had once insisted upon was now questionable, while my suggestions were dismissed as settling for less. 2 months before our wedding date, my concerns grew impossible to ignore. I called my best friend Tyler, who had known me since college. "Something is off with Jessica," I admitted during a basketball game. "She is distant, secretive. I barely recognize her anymore." Tyler set down his beer, his expression serious. "Have you considered she might be having second thoughts about the wedding?" The question hit me like a physical blow. Despite the evidence piling up, I had not allowed myself to articulate that possibility. My sister Amanda, married for 12 years, offered practical advice over coffee the following day. "Talk to her directly, Dwayne. Ask her if she is having doubts. Better to know now than after the wedding." Her words gave me the courage to plan a special date night at Canlis, the elegant restaurant where we had celebrated our first anniversary. Jessica arrived 30 minutes late, her eyes never leaving her phone throughout our expensive meal. When the waiter brought champagne, I gathered my courage. "Jessica, are you having doubts about the wedding? About us?" The question hung between us like a physical presence. Her reaction was immediate and defensive. "Why would you ask that? Everything is fine." She forced a smile that did not reach her eyes. "You are being paranoid. Can we not just enjoy dinner?" Later that night, as she changed for bed, I noticed her left hand was bare. The engagement ring, which had rarely left her finger for the past year, was missing. My stomach tightened. "Where is your ring?" I asked, trying to keep my voice casual. Jessica glanced down at her hand as if noticing for the first time. "Oh, it needs cleaning before the wedding. I dropped it off today." The jeweler had already confirmed our wedding bands were ready when I had called the previous week. No mention had been made of her engagement ring being there. With 1 month remaining until our wedding, red flags multiplied daily. Jessica announced a weekend work conference in Portland that I discovered had no online presence. When I offered to drive her to the airport, she insisted on taking an Uber. "Do not be silly. You would have to fight Friday traffic just to turn around." One evening, while Jessica showered, her phone lit up with a text from Alex. Though I had never snooped before, the preview caught my eye. "Last night was amazing. Cannot wait to see you again tomorrow." My hand hovered over the phone, the temptation to read more overwhelming. Before I could decide, Jessica emerged from the bathroom. Seeing me near her phone, she snatched it up quickly, dismissing the notification. That night, she changed all her passwords: phone, laptop, social media accounts. "Just a precaution," she explained when I noticed. "There was a security breach at work." The explanation might have been believable if not accompanied by her suddenly keeping her phone with her at all times, even taking it to the bathroom. Jessica's criticism of my life choices intensified. My stable career, once appreciated, became evidence of my lack of ambition. My close friendships were juvenile dependencies. Even my volunteer work at the local animal shelter was predictable do-gooder behavior. Each comment chipped away at my self-confidence, leaving me questioning my worth. Friends began mentioning seeing Jessica at restaurants and events she had never told me about. "We saw Jessica at the new cocktail bar downtown last Thursday," my coworker mentioned casually. "She must have great connections to get into that place." Thursday was supposed to be her late night at the office working on quarterly reports. Anxiety began to plague me. Sleep became elusive as I replayed conversations and incidents, searching for where things had gone wrong. Panic attacks struck without warning. In meetings, while driving once in the middle of a grocery store, the man who had confidently climbed mountains was now afraid of his own thoughts. 3 weeks before the wedding, final vendor payments came due. Jessica expressed reluctance to transfer her share of the costs to our joint account. "Let us wait another week," she suggested vaguely. "Cash flow is tight right now." My attempts to confirm honeymoon details met similar resistance. "Do we really need to prepay the excursions?" she asked. "What if we want to be spontaneous?" The woman who had once meticulously planned our weekend hikes now balked at confirming dinner reservations for our 2-week Bali trip. Her parents called me one evening while Jessica was at another work event. Her mother's voice was hesitant. Jessica mentioned having some doubts, some cold feet. "Is everything all right between you two?" The conversation left me shaken. Jessica had spoken to her parents about doubts, but maintained everything was fine with me. While organizing the home office, I discovered a stack of wedding RSVPs Jessica had not shared with me. Several of her family members had declined, information that would have affected our seating arrangements and catering numbers. When confronted, she shrugged. "I forgot to tell you. Does it really matter?" I noticed she had not ordered the personalized bridesmaid gifts she had selected months ago. When I mentioned this, Jessica waved her hand dismissively. "They do not expect anything fancy." This from the woman who had once created a detailed spreadsheet of gift options with price comparisons. Desperate to salvage our relationship, I suggested pre-wedding counseling. "Many couples do it," I said carefully. "It might help us align our expectations for marriage." To my surprise, Jessica agreed readily. However, the day before our scheduled appointment, she texted that she could not make it due to a client emergency. When I offered to reschedule, she never responded. My final attempt at honest communication happened on a quiet Sunday evening. Apollo lay between us on the sofa as I turned off the television and took her hands in mine. "Jessica, please talk to me." Something is wrong, and we cannot fix it if we do not acknowledge it." She pulled her hands away, stood up, and left the room without a word. I heard the guest bedroom door close and lock. We slept separately that night for the first time since moving in together. Exactly 2 weeks before our wedding, I sat at my desk reviewing honeymoon documents. I had splurged on a private sunset cruise for our first night in Bali, wanting to begin our marriage with a magical experience. As I confirmed the reservation, my phone buzzed with a text from Jessica. The message arrived at 1:22 a.m. "On a Tuesday, I cannot go through with the wedding. I am not in love with you anymore. Actually, I never really was. You are just safe and boring. I need excitement and passion that you cannot provide. I am staying at Alex's tonight. I will get my things later." My hands began to shake uncontrollably. The phone slipped from my grasp, clattering onto my keyboard. Blood rushed in my ears as the room seemed to tilt. 2 years of my life, thousands of dollars, countless memories, all dismissed in a text message. Not even a phone call. Ted from the next cubicle appeared at my desk. "You okay, man? You look like you have seen a ghost." Unable to form words, I simply showed him the text. His face fell. "Jesus, Dwayne, go home. I will cover for you with Henderson." The drive home passed in a blur. Rain pelted my windshield, matching the storm inside me. I replayed our relationship, searching for signs. I had missed moments when I should have known. Had she ever loved me? Was our entire relationship a lie? Entering our home felt surreal. Wedding invitations sat in neat stacks on the dining table. A custom cake topper with our silhouettes mocked me from the mantel. Apollo bounded up, expecting Jessica to follow. When he realized I was alone, he tilted his head in confusion before settling at my feet with a concerned whine. I moved through the house in a daze, noticing for the first time that several drawers in Jessica's dresser were already partially empty. Her favorite shoes were missing from the closet. How long had she been planning this? Had she been gradually moving out while I remained oblivious? In her home office, I found hotel receipts tucked into a book, dates that aligned perfectly with nights she claimed to be working late. A quick search on social media revealed what I had been too trusting to investigate: earlier photos of Jessica and Alex together dating back nearly 4 months. Dinner dates, concert tickets, even a weekend trip to Vancouver during her work conference. Their body language left no doubt about the nature of their relationship. The phrase "never really loved you" echoed in my mind as I scrolled through our own photos. Our engagement pictures, holiday celebrations, candid moments of laughter. Had it all been an act? I remembered how she had cried during my proposal, how she had whispered, "You are my forever," on countless nights. Were those calculated performances from a woman building a life she never truly wanted? In her nightstand drawer, I found a journal I had never seen before. The entry from 3 months ago made my stomach lurch. "Alex understands me in ways Dwayne never could. Am I making a terrible mistake going through with this wedding? The ring on my finger feels heavier each day." As I sat surrounded by evidence of her deception, a text arrived from our mutual friend, Maria Dwayne. "I do not know how to tell you this, but everyone knows about Jessica and Alex. They have been together for months. I thought you knew and were working through it. I am so sorry. I spent that night alone in our home, my home now, processing the magnitude of her betrayal." Apollo remained by my side, his warm presence the only comfort as I cycled through shock, denial, and rage. My first instinct was to call her, to beg her to reconsider. I drafted desperate texts, pleading for another chance, promising I could change, become more exciting, less predictable. My finger hovered over the send button before reality crashed back. Why was I begging someone who had lied to me for months, who had cheated, deceived, and discarded me through a text message? As the night progressed, memories surfaced with painful clarity. Jessica checking her phone during our anniversary dinner. The mysterious weekend trips. The growing criticism of my personality. The engagement ring suddenly needing cleaning weeks before the wedding. All the signs had been there, glaring in their obviousness. I had simply refused to see them. Around 3 in the morning, a moment of clarity cut through my grief like a shaft of light. I deserved someone who actually loved me, who respected me enough to have an honest conversation face to face, who saw my stability as a strength rather than a boring liability. I picked up my phone and sent a single response to her message. "Thanks for the heads up." Then I turned off my phone, poured 2 fingers of whiskey, and stood at the window watching the Seattle rain. That night I allowed myself to grieve. For the future we had planned, for the man I had been, and for the trust I had given so freely. Tears came, then anger, then a strange sense of relief that I had discovered her true nature before legally binding myself to her. By morning, the storm had passed, both outside my window and within my heart. I showered, dressed, and made a pot of coffee. As Apollo watched curiously, I sat at the kitchen table and opened my laptop. It was time to take control. I began by creating a detailed spreadsheet of all wedding vendors and deposits. Venue, caterer, photographer, florist, DJ, transportation. Nearly $30,000 committed to a celebration that would never happen. With methodical determination, I spent the morning making calls. I am canceling a wedding scheduled for June 15th. I explained to each vendor, my voice growing steadier with each call. Most expressed sympathy, some offered partial refunds due to the circumstances. By noon, I had recovered nearly $12,000 and had appointments to meet with others who required in-person cancellations. Next came the painful task of informing our wedding party and guests. I drafted a simple, dignified email, Jessica, and I have ended our relationship and the wedding is canceled. I appreciate your understanding and support during this difficult time. For our closest friends and family members, I made personal calls offering no details beyond the essential facts. My parents were heartbroken but supportive. She never deserved you, my mother declared fiercely. Tyler immediately offered his guest room if I needed space. My sister Amanda arrived that afternoon with groceries and practical advice about separating our finances. While searching for our shared insurance documents, I discovered Jessica's wedding dress hanging in the guest room closet. The designer gown she had spent months selecting had cost nearly $6,000. According to the receipt, she had made the final payment just 3 weeks ago, well after her affair with Alex had begun. On a whim, I listed the dress on a specialized second-hand website. Within hours, I received a message from a bride whose own dress had been damaged in a delivery mishap. Her wedding was in 5 weeks, and Jessica's dress was her dream style. She offered $4,200 in cash if she could pick it up immediately. I accepted without hesitation. The following day, I continued my methodical approach to disentanglement. I consulted an attorney about the house and our joint property. Since we had purchased the home together but I had contributed the majority of the down payment, he advised me on my options: buy out her portion, sell the property, or negotiate another arrangement. My realtor friend Sophia came over to assess the house. The market is hot right now, she explained. We could list next week and likely have offers within days. The thought of a quick sale was appealing. Too many memories lingered in these rooms. That afternoon, I reached out to my college friend Mark, who worked for a tech company in Denver. We had remained close over the years, and he had mentioned an opening in his department months earlier. "Are you still looking for a senior developer?" I asked when he answered. Mark's enthusiasm was immediate. "The position is still open, and honestly, we have not found anyone with your qualifications. Send your updated resume tonight, and I will walk it directly to the hiring manager." By evening, I had a preliminary phone interview scheduled and information about neighborhoods in Denver. The salary offered was 20% higher than my current position with better benefits and advancement opportunities. For the first time since reading Jessica's text, I felt a flicker of excitement about the future. I spent the evening setting up separate bank accounts and transferring my portion of our joint savings. I made arrangements with my veterinarian to prepare Apollo's records for transfer to Denver, researching pet-friendly apartments near the hiking trails Mark had recommended. That night, I deep cleaned the house from top to bottom, scrubbing away fingerprints, dog hair, and memories. Each surface I wiped felt like erasing a piece of our shared past. By midnight, the house gleamed with an impersonal perfection, like a museum exhibit of what had once been a home. 3 days after her devastating text, Jessica returned while I was boxing up books in the living room. She stopped short in the doorway, eyes widening at the moving boxes and packed suitcases. "What are you doing?" she asked, her voice small. I continued wrapping a framed photo in bubble wrap. "Packing." She set down her purse, her movements uncertain. "Dwayne, we need to talk." "About what?" I asked, finally looking up. She appeared disheveled, her eyes rimmed with red. "Good," I thought. She should suffer too. "You canceled the wedding." Her voice rose in disbelief. "I got calls from the venue, the caterer, everyone. You had no right to make that decision without talking to me first." I stared at her, incredulous. "You ended our relationship via text message. What exactly did you think would happen to the wedding?" She paced the room, agitated. I was confused, overwhelmed. I needed space to think. And Alex, was he just providing space for thinking? Her face crumpled. Alex was a mistake. He ended things yesterday. Said he was not ready for something serious. So that explained her sudden appearance. Her backup plan had failed, and now she was retreating to her safe option. To me, I was emotional and said things I did not mean. She continued, tears spilling down her cheeks. We can work this out. Postpone the wedding if necessary, get counseling. We have built so much together. I stood up slowly, every muscle tense. Jessica, you told me you never loved me, that I was safe and boring, that you needed excitement I cannot provide. I did not mean that. I was confused, lashing out. Walking to my phone, I pulled up her message and held the screen toward her. This does not sound confused. It sounds very clear. She reached for me, but I stepped back. Please, Dwayne. Everyone makes mistakes. 2 years together has to count for something. Looking at her tear-stained face, I felt a surprising emptiness where pain had recently consumed me. You are right. 2 years does count for something. It taught me that I am worth more than being someone's backup plan. 1 week later, Apollo and I crossed the Colorado state line in my packed SUV. The mountains rose majestically in the distance, their peaks still snow-capped despite the June warmth. With each mile, I felt the weight of betrayal lifting, replaced by an unexpected sense of possibility. My new apartment in Denver's Washington Park neighborhood offered a stunning view of the mountains from the balcony. It was smaller than our Seattle home but felt expansive in its promise of a fresh start. Apollo immediately claimed the sunny spot by the sliding glass door, stretching contentedly as if he too appreciated the change. Mark had introduced me to his circle of friends, outdoor enthusiasts, who welcomed me without prying questions. Through them, I discovered a hiking group that explored trails throughout Colorado. During my first excursion with them, breathing the thin mountain air and watching eagles soar overhead, I felt truly free for the first time in months. My new position challenged me professionally in ways my Seattle job never had. The increased responsibility and innovative projects rekindled my passion for coding that had dimmed during the tumultuous final months with Jessica. My team valued my contributions and respected my methodical approach, qualities Jessica had dismissed as boring. Meanwhile, Jessica's attempts to reconnect grew increasingly desperate. Her initial texts expressed regret and requested another chance. When those went unanswered, she escalated to hourly messages and late-night calls. I maintained my silence, each ignored message strengthening my resolve. My phone pinged with a notification from Maria. Jessica is telling everyone it was all a misunderstanding and you overreacted. Just thought you should know. I thanked her for the information but felt no urge to correct the narrative. Those who knew me would understand the truth. The weeks following our separation revealed the full extent of Jessica's deception. She had sent over 30 texts in the first week alone, each more desperate than the last. I made a terrible mistake. Please talk to me. We can fix this. I miss you and Apollo. 2 weeks after I left Seattle, my mother called to inform me that Jessica had shown up at their house looking for me. She seemed genuinely distraught, my mother said cautiously. But your father told her you had moved on, and she should do the same. 3 weeks after her devastating text, Jessica learned the truth about Alex. According to mutual friends, he had only pursued her to gain favor with senior management at their company. Once he received the promotion he wanted, he ended their affair without remorse. The irony was not lost on me. She had discarded genuine love for a calculated deception. When Jessica somehow discovered my new address, likely through well-meaning but loose-lipped friends, she appeared unannounced on my doorstep. Apollo barked excitedly, momentarily confused by her familiar scent. You changed your number, she accused, pushing past me into the apartment. You are ignoring my emails. How else was I supposed to reach you? Take the hint, I suggested calmly. This chapter of my life is closed. She surveyed the apartment, noting the absence of our shared possessions, the new furniture, the fresh start I had created. You cannot just erase 2 years, Dwayne. We built a life together. A life you chose to end with a text message. Her composure crumbled. It was the biggest mistake of my life, she sobbed. I see that now. Alex used me. He never cared about me. Though part of me acknowledged her pain, I remained unmoved by her tears. I am sorry that happened to you, truly. But it does not change anything between us. We can start over, she pleaded. I will move to Denver. We can rebuild. I shook my head. The trust is gone, Jessica. You cannot rebuild on a foundation that no longer exists. As she left, shoulders slumped in defeat, I felt a final thread severing. Whatever had connected us was now completely irrevocably broken. 6 months after Jessica's text, my new life had taken solid shape. The initial pain had faded, replaced by a genuine appreciation for the independence I had rediscovered. Apollo and I established new routines. Morning runs in the park, weekend hikes. Quiet evenings on the balcony, watching the sunset. Paint the mountains in gold and purple. I formed genuine friendships within the hiking community, particularly with Allison, a guide whose knowledge of Colorado trails was surpassed only by her infectious enthusiasm for life. Our shared interest in photography led to day trips capturing wildlife and landscapes, her patience and encouragement, helping heal wounds I had not realized were still raw. Therapy had been instrumental in processing the betrayal and building healthier boundaries. My therapist helped me recognize the subtle warning signs I had ignored, and the ways I had compromised my own needs to accommodate Jessica's growing demands. These sessions strengthened my resolve to never again diminish myself for someone else's comfort. Our house in Seattle sold for 20% above asking price in a competitive bidding war. After settling Jessica's portion, accompanied by legal documentation, preventing further claims, I invested the proceeds in my future. Financial freedom became another unexpected gift from what had initially felt like devastation. Jessica's attempts to reconnect gradually diminished. Occasional texts on birthdays or holidays arrived with decreasing frequency until they stopped altogether. Through mutual friends, I learned she had moved to Portland for a fresh start of her own. 1 year after what would have been our wedding day, I sat on a rocky outcropping halfway up a Colorado mountain. Apollo dozed at my feet as I reflected on the journey that had brought me here. The text that had once shattered my world now seemed like a twisted blessing, painful but ultimately necessary to redirect my path. Sometimes the worst day of your life becomes the catalyst for the best version of your life, Allison had said during a recent hike. Her words resonated with profound truth. The man sitting on this mountain was stronger, more authentic, and far happier than the one who had planned a honeymoon with someone who did not truly love him. The house that had witnessed our relationship's end now belonged to a young family building their own memories within its walls. The ring I had saved for months to purchase had been sold, funding a photography workshop that rekindled my long-neglected passion. The wedding vendors had long since filled our date with another couple's celebration. My relationship with Allison had evolved gradually from friendship to something deeper, built on a foundation of mutual respect and genuine connection. Unlike Jessica, she valued my reliability and appreciated my thoughtful nature. When she laughed at my careful planning for our backpacking trips, it was with affection rather than derision. "Your spreadsheets keep us safe," she would say, squeezing my hand. Jessica's final text still lived in my phone, not as a painful reminder but as evidence of a bullet dodged. "I am not in love with you anymore. Actually, I never really was." Those words had once cut deeper than any knife. Now they represented the moment I began to find my way back to myself. Life rarely follows the paths we carefully map out. Sometimes the greatest gift is having those plans derailed, forcing us to discover routes we never would have chosen voluntarily. Looking out over the vast landscape, I felt profound gratitude for the painful text that ultimately set me free. What about you? Have you ever had a relationship end in a way that initially seemed devastating but ultimately led to something better? Share your story in the comments below. And if this resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe for more real-life experiences about finding strength through difficult situations. Remember, sometimes the end of one chapter is just the beginning of a much better story. Thank you for listening, and I hope your journey brings you to exactly where you need to be.